Hey, it's Monday. Happy afternoon. We're almost there with the day. I'm going to start class kind of like we normally would if I were there in person, and I'm going to actually answer some of your questions that you had from Friday's exit ticket. So I'm going to start with that. First question at the top was actually, what was that song that started off that presentation? Well, it was actually this song right here, which is called The British Grenadiers Fife and Drum. So I'm going to have it start playing for a second to prove that. All right, some other questions that I had was relating to, let me go down my list. So who really made the Trade Acts? Great question. It goes back to the British. So we were a British colony, so they're going to make laws that affect not only England, but also us, the colonists. Another question someone had was, why would people actually want to smuggle? Well, namely, a big reason people want to smuggle is they don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to pay extra money. So they're going to smuggle it in instead. Kind of the same reason people sneak food into the movie theaters. They don't want to pay the overpriced popcorn costs if they can bring in their own snacks. Some people do that, right? Why would they only have English ports and ships? Another good question. That's going to tie back to smuggling. There's less likely of a chance of smuggling to happen if they were forced to only use British ships and British ports, because those are two things which the British government can keep an eye on. Another good question I saw was, what was the main thing every colony wanted? It kind of just varied on the parts. If you think of like our New England colony, they can't really grow food other than doing like fishing. So they're probably going to want to import like wheats and barleys to make breads and stuff. Sugar is going to be popular because, well, tea, you can put it in your tea, right? But also sugar will be used and distilled into whiskey, an alcohol. So that's another thing that will be really popular here in the States. Another good question someone had was, were there products you couldn't find in England? This is kind of the beginning of England becoming a major world empire and power. At this time, yeah, there's certain things they still don't have, they have to buy. But in another like 100 years, they're going to own India and they're going to have colonies over in Africa. So we're getting closer and closer to a point where, no, anything you want, you can get from England. Another question was bounty rewards. Someone said that they saw that there's 500 pounds wanted for smugglers. Like, what would that be today? Here's a really good example. So 500 pounds in England would be like, I think it's like 400 and something dollars for us. Today, though, let me give you a comparison. If you look at the screen, this guy is wanted by the FBI, Alexis Flores, and he also, if you look closely, has a reward if you were to find him. So, more importantly, if you're like a bounty hunter, those people exist, you could get paid $100,000 for information that leads to his arrest. So if you're a private investigator and your job is to spy and like find this information, you can get paid money. So that's kind of your answer, if you will. About 100,000, let's say. Probably just depends. The Soviet Union started playing. That's funny. All right, another question we had. How did triangular trade work? Someone asked, like, when did it start? Who did Africa really trade with? And why did they not really trade with Asia? Here's breakdown of all those. Basically, think back to what we talked about with Portugal. It's basically, when they started going around Africa and trading, that's kind of the beginning of the African trade. You're going to really see it boom as soon as we have more and more colonies in the New World. More slaves are going to be needed, so you're really going to start seeing that trade increasing. Why they didn't trade with Asia, that was a really good question. Remember, Portugal found a way to get to Asia, and they're going to start bringing stuff to Europe. So really, Portugal is going to have a lot of stuff you can get from Asia. So that's why you won't see so much trade coming from Asia. Portugal is bringing it in. And Africa really traded the most with Europeans because they had manufactured goods, and Africa themselves couldn't really process, say, like sugars into whiskeys and stuff. They would just buy it from the Europeans. Basically, the Europeans wouldn't give that kind of stuff to them. And I think someone else asked a question with Africa that was, it just left me. It'll come back maybe. What if you couldn't afford taxes? That was another good question. If you're buying stuff, much like today, you pay a tax. So if you can't afford it with the taxes, you won't be able to buy it. This is basically the way to look at it. So typically it wasn't like you bought it and then you were taxed. Usually they were together. And then last question, how did they have enough stuff to export if they were not importing a lot of stuff? So if you think of this, think of business today, same kind of idea. You want to spend less than you are making, and that's how you make a profit. So trade kind of works the same way even today. Companies trade and they want to basically pay for less stuff to make into more. So they are still bringing stuff in. They just want to minimize the cost to then make a profit. Modern example, Nike. The main reason why they have their factories over in Asia, it costs them 1/100th the price to have people in Asia to make their shoes that they then sell here in the States for, $60 to like $300. So that's a perfect example. The shoe cost in Asia to make it and pay those people and have those supplies probably only really costs like under $10, and they're making massive profits. It's the same kind of idea. All right, those are all of your questions. I kind of just lumped them into some categories. So great stuff. You're going to get some notes posted in here after this, and go ahead and take those notes. When you finish those notes, you're also going to see that there is a vocab to work on that's due Wednesday. And at the end of today, based on those notes from today, I have a flip grid for you that is another 3, 2, 1 exit ticket. Have a great day and good luck with those things. I will see you on the flip side.